This is Marty Skovlund Jr. here reporting live at St. Marigny in Normandy, France, watching over 600 American and Allied paratroopers jump into the same drop zones that very first paratroopers jumped on back in World War II. I found out from a couple of different people here that this actual bridge was a key position that the Americans and the Allies had to defend from the Germans when they first came in. So pretty cool to be here with all the history. Looking forward to meeting a bunch of the World War II veterans that are here, and wow, what a place to be, and what a thing to witness. People from all over the world travel to the annual celebration of Normandy's liberation from Nazi Germany, and to remember the heroes who fell in battle on D-Day. It's a party atmosphere, and the beer and brats are served practically non-stop. You'll even see a mannequin soldier that hangs by his parachute from the church's steeple. It's so that people don't forget the American paratrooper that actually got caught on it and was surrounded by Nazis during the airborne invasion. In St. Marigny, veterans of World War II, active duty service members, and a variety of French men and women dressed in period uniforms and military vehicles march in a parade through the town center. The streets are packed with people, most of them French. They're waving American flags and cheering at the few World War II veterans that are still able to make it out for the festivity. The festival is incredible to witness, and it's vital in the effort to remember the heroism and the sacrifice that the 160,000 Allied troops displayed here during the invasion. 10,000 of those troops were killed, wounded, or are still missing in action. I went out to the 100-foot cliffs of Pointe du Hoc, which are located between Utah and Omaha beaches. These cliffs were absolutely critical for the Allied amphibious assault during the first wave of D-Day. Colonel James Rudder commanded the men of 2nd and 5th Ranger Battalions, and they were tasked with the nearly impossible mission of taking the cliffs, which were heavily defended by the German Wehrmacht.
The men that scaled these cliffs began a legacy of preparation. They provided an example of what effective training looks like. It was the realistic, grueling training that 2nd Ranger Battalion performed, led by Colonel Rudder, that prepared them for this assault. Ultimately, the Rangers of 2nd and 5th Battalions demonstrated that it is not the will to win that matters, but instead the will to prepare.
The Rangers climbed up these cliffs in the face of direct enemy gunfire. They took 70% casualties, but they still took out the Nazis and cemented their position as legends that Rangers in the 75th Ranger Regiment still look up to this day. I got to tag along with the Best Defense Foundation, which was started by former NFL star Donnie Edwards. He's taken on the very important mission of bringing World War II veterans back to their battlefields. I went with him and 8 veterans to the Brittany American Cemetery and Memorial. They remembered their fallen comrades and placed a wreath at the memorial.
Bogart, he was a captain in our our regiment. His plane was hit. And of course, he could have gone back to England, but he insisted on jumping, and he jumped, and of course his men followed him out. He was a jump master. Unfortunately, he landed among an SS troop. He was badly outnumbered. So most of these men were killed except Bogart and 8 of them. That's one of those cases where you hear about atrocities, that they take men and have them dig their own grave, and they shoot them and put them in the grave. Why, that's about as bad as it can get. Bogart was a good man, as these other 4,000 men here were in the story.
Come together today to honor and remember my comrades. We come to remember and honor the 400,000 American soldiers who died in World War II. Many of our men here with us today still suffer from wounds received in battle. Their minds and bodies destroyed by the horrors of war.
I'll admit that I teared up a little as one of the veterans read a story he wrote about what it was like to look back on the men he lost, and what it was like to know that his generation, the greatest generation, is quickly fading into the history books.
Lord God, may we never forget. May this nation never forget the pride of American youth who gave their lives, were wounded and captured, or went missing. What we did, what we experienced, represents the love of our country, the love of our religious faith, the love of our fellow citizens, and our love of freedom. We saw what a lack of love and a lack of freedom could do. We saw the concentration camps. We saw the slave labor camps. We saw the prisoner of war camps. We saw the vile inhumanity of man against man. Tears still well in my eyes. I remember all the friends I left on the field of battle in the towns and cities of Europe. We are the warriors of the greatest generation. The generation that has taken their final curtain calls and soon will be leaving this stage of life. Look at these old warriors gathered here today. They're yesterday's heroes. We were soldiers once and young, the vibrant youth of that time. Men who were here in those terrible battlefields 74 years ago. Were you a hero in the war, Poppy? My grandchildren sometimes ask. No, but I was in a company of heroes. From where, oh God, came such men as these? The warriors of the greatest generation. A generation that has taken their final curtain calls, and soon we all will have left. The Ardennes woods are silent now. The battle smoke has fled. 70 years and 2 have passed. Now only memories and the dead. Thank you. May God bless you. May God bless America. Amen.
Amen.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with a light from above. From the mountains to the prairie to the ocean. Why
As I walk in the footsteps of giants along Omaha Beach, I can't help but think about how different our world would be today if it wasn't for those men who stepped into the unknown, faced certain death, and ultimately saved the world. I think about my grandfather who stormed the beaches that day. I think about the 10,000 Allied soldiers who never made it out of Normandy. We're the lucky citizens who inherited the freedom that these heroes fought for that day. But are we actually measuring up to their sacrifice? I don't know. But I do know we can ensure that their efforts won't be forgotten, and that their memory lives on as the example of what the human spirit can accomplish in the face of evil.